Have you ever picked up one of these APBA baseball cards and just wondered, how in the world do they do it? How do you take a pitcher's entire complicated season and somehow boil it all down to what's on this little piece of cardboard? Well, today, we're going to crack that code. We're diving deep into the art and science of APBA pitching.
I mean, seriously, think about it. You've got to factor in their ERA, their wins and losses, strikeouts, walks, home runs, the whole shebang. The designers at APBA had this incredible challenge. Make a system simple enough to play on your tabletop, but deep enough to actually feel like baseball. So how do they pull it off?
For most of us, it all starts with a single letter, A, B, C, or D. It's so iconic that the APBA blog actually runs this awesome annual pitching grade challenge where fans go nuts trying to guess the grades before the new card sets come out. But as you're about to find out, that simple letter, well, it's just the very, very tip of the iceberg.
All right, so let's start peeling back that first layer. To really get what's going on, we have to start with that basic letter grade and look at how it's even figured out in the first place.
And here is the first big secret. That A, B, C, or D isn't the real system. Nope, it's actually just a shorthand for a much more detailed master game scale that runs from 1 all the way up to 30. This number, right here, is the true engine that drives everything for that pitcher. If you look at modern cards, you'll even see it printed right down at the bottom. And, this system hasn't just been frozen in time. The original guidelines from '76 got a pretty significant update back in 2002. Now, you might look at this and think, the number is only shifted by 1 point. What's the big deal? Well, the thinking behind it was actually huge. They did it to make the simple basic game and the more complex master game line up better, to create a more seamless experience. It's just a great little example of how they're always tinkering and refining things behind the scenes.
Okay, so we have the master grade. That's our foundation. But a pitcher is way more than just one number, right? To really paint a full picture, APBA adds this whole alphabet soup of modifiers. So let's decode what all those other letters mean.
I absolutely love this quote from the source material. It's just a fantastic way to remember the home run ratings H, G, L, and M. Think of it like this. An H pitcher for hardly any will turn some home runs into doubles. But an M pitcher for mucho, he can watch a double turn into a home run. It's such a simple, elegant way to show you which guys are prone to giving up the long ball.
Next up is control, with the letters W and Z. A pitcher with a W is wild. They're going to give up more walks. A Z pitcher has that pinpoint control, and they can actually steal walks right off the batter's card. But here's the really crucial part. These letters have a much bigger effect on lower-grade pitchers. See, a W on a D-grade pitcher isn't just bad, it's devastating, because it makes them face even more batters, which just compounds the damage. An A-grade ace can usually pitch his way out of a walk, but for a D-grade guy, it can be a total death spiral.
And of course, you gotta have strikeouts. This is where the detail really shines. An R means he's a pitch-to-contact guy who doesn't get a lot of Ks. But then you start climbing the ladder to Y, then X, then the mighty K for the true power pitchers. And at the very top, you have the legendary KXY. That's the monster rating, reserved only for the most ridiculously dominant flamethrowers in baseball history. When you see that K, you know you're in for a battle.
So we've covered all the ratings you'll see printed right on the card. You might think that's it, right? We're done. But the whole system takes another fascinating, kind of crazy turn when it goes from the kitchen table to the computer screen.
You see, when the game went digital with Baseball for Windows, the creator had a problem. He was worried the players would just look at the cards, pick the pitcher with the absolute best grade, and game the system. He wanted to bring back some of the randomness and unpredictability of a real baseball game. And his solution was pretty brilliant: grade randomization.
Get this. For any single at-bat in the computer game, there's only a 50-50 chance that the pitcher is actually performing at his printed grade. The rest of the time, the computer is secretly bumping his effectiveness up or down. So your solid B-grade pitcher, he might suddenly pitch like an A-grade ace for one batter, and then like a shaky C-grade pitcher for the very next guy. It's wild.
Okay, let's walk through this example just to see how all these moving parts come together. So a reliever comes in, he's a master grade 6. First, the computer's randomizer kicks in and secretly drops his grade by 1, down to a 5. But wait, for his very first batter, he gets a special 5-point bonus, which shoots his grade all the way up to a 10. Okay, but there's a runner on base, so he has to pitch from the stretch, and that comes with a 2-point penalty. So after all that, for this one single at-bat, our grade 6 pitcher is actually performing as a grade 8. It's this dynamic, constantly changing system, batter by batter.
So, we've dug into the how, all the intricate mechanics of the grades and the ratings and the randomization, but now let's get to the really interesting part, the why. What's the core philosophy that's driving all of these design choices? This quote right here, it gets to the absolute heart of everything. The founder of APBA, Dick Seitz, he wasn't obsessed with perfectly recreating a player's box score from the newspaper. His goal was something bigger, something different.
And what this all reveals are two totally different schools of thought when it comes to designing sports games. On one side, you have the classic ABPA philosophy. The goal here is to capture a pitcher's total value. It's not just about his ERA, it's about asking, how much did this guy actually help his team win? And that's why a stat like wins is factored into his grade. Then on the other side, you have a purely stats-driven philosophy, like you see in a game like Skeetersoft. Here the goal is totally different. It's asking, can we perfectly replicate this pitcher's exact stat line? It's a pure data-first quest for statistical perfection.
So think about the journey we just took. We started with a simple letter, A, B, C, or D. Then we pulled back the curtain and found that 1 to 30 master grade. We layered on that whole alphabet of ratings for home runs and strikeouts, saw how it all gets tossed into a blender in the digital game, and finally we got to the core philosophy that drives the entire thing. And that brings us to the ultimate question, doesn't it? It's something every game designer and every player really has to answer for themselves. What are we actually chasing here? Is it the cold, hard accuracy of a spreadsheet, or is it that intangible, almost impossible to define feel of a player's true value on the field? There's really no right answer, but figuring out which one matters more to you is what this is all about. Thanks for digging into this with me.